Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for joining us. There's a lot of ground to cover, and before we get started, I want you to take a moment to think about the last time that you wanted to do something and you couldn't because the computer wasn't working. For instance, could you call the office back? They're working on the database and I can't get into your account. Or you needed to go to a different ATM, or you had to go into the gas station because you couldn't pay at the pump. When we are the consumer and this sort of thing happens, it's a momentary inconvenience. When it's our business and the computer stops working, it doesn't mean that you have to close your doors. So again, take some time to think about how you as a business would continue to keep working if your computer stopped. And those 4 things in yellow are the primary items that we do on computer and keep a business running. And understand as well that Sony, the company that wants to sell you that backup computer, they didn't have any plan whatsoever when they got attacked the other year. And we are changing how our businesses work in a dramatic fashion right now. And my daughter would be very proud of me for quoting somebody from the fashion industry. It's a great article if you take the time to track it down in the New York Times. As Steve mentioned, this will be online. You will be able to go through it slower. As I said, there's a lot of ground to cover. And part of the changes that we are experiencing are because we are this first generation that has instant gratification. I want what I want when I want it. Great looking sneakers. Go on Zappos and order them. Who played Obi-Wan Kenobi? I can't remember. Go to IMDb. You'll get your answer. Who won the 1953 World Series? Google knows everything else. All of this information is available to us almost immediately. And because of it, we are losing sight of what's beyond the horizon. And because of that, it's something that we need to be mindful of as small business owners. And it's happened before. So what I want to do is go backwards for about 70 years or so when a fledgling industry called television turned the golden age of radio into a second-class citizen. Today, the internet is doing the same thing to TV, and it's making the industry nuts. And we will talk a little bit more about that in just a few moments. For the moment, though, I want to give you a few things to think about that may help you to cope with all of this stuff that's going on. First, the people with the gray hair and ulcers that qualify them to drive the bus, and it doesn't matter if they're in business or media or education or politics or medicine, they didn't grow up with any of this stuff that they're being asked to make decisions about. Second, the ability to afford the latest gadget, gizmo, or widget has no bearing on the owner's ability to use or understand it. I've had the opportunity to tell a Harvard Medical School graduate that their printer would work better if they put paper in it. Third, neither owners nor leaders disclose what they don't know until the problem from their digital footprint grows into something like the sexting of Anthony Weiner or the emails of Hillary Clinton. And finally, if you touch technology, whether you love it or hate it, you are committed to a lifetime of learning because it is constantly changing and nobody can know it all. And speaking of change, it is time to start thinking of IT as your profit center rather than a cost center, because the businesses that start to harness technology to run their business better are going to be more successful than the businesses that try to make what they've got last longer. For instance, if you stop paying rent on that room, where's my little arrow? There's my arrow. You stop paying rent on that room over there, and you scan everything so it fits on a gizmo this small, you've got information available to you and available to your customers in a timely fashion. It doesn't make costs go away. It makes the costs different. And if you do not change with the time, bear in mind that you may not be around. And by the way, a quick sidebar here, if you are interested in seeing or following these trends on a regular basis, Mary Meeker works for a venture capital firm, Kleiner Perkins, and every year she produces a 200-slide deck on tech trends exclusively on the internet. We're going to be covering a broader area, and we're going to start with products. And the first product that is really important to keep in mind as the future gets closer and closer is 3D printing, because it is going to be revolutionizing the stuff that we do. For instance, that nozzle on the left-hand side is 25% lighter, 5 times more durable than its predecessor, plus it's going to be wired up to computers so that they can know where points of failure are. General Electric is doing a huge amount of 3D printing work, and they have created a piece of software called Predix, which is going to allow all of these Internet of Things, all these gizmos and gadgets to talk to one another. And realize also that if you can print 3D in space, you could throw that wrench towards Jupiter and just go back in and print another one. So the changes are absolutely staggering that are coming along. Here's another one that I found really interesting, and if you have not taken the time to go on YouTube to look at any of the robots that Boston Dynamics is making, this fellow is probably going to be walking down the warehouse in Amazon in a couple of years to pull all of those products off the shelf. However, Boston Dynamics is a subsidiary of Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, and it is up for sale because it can't turn a profit fast enough for Google. However, 2 of the potential buyers are Toyota and Amazon. But the other thing to bear in mind when you talk about robotics is that as you start to replace people, you also start to decimate the cities that the people live in, because if there are no jobs, the people are going to move. When they move, small businesses don't have people to come in and do business with them. And this is a change that we watched over time in Detroit, among other reasons for Detroit's decline, but no jobs, people go away. We're going to do this again in Asia. And when 137 million people get replaced by machines, those natives get really restless. And just remember, Marie Antoinette lost her head on the notion of let them eat cake. That many people without work, big problem coming down the horizon. Don't know how to change it, do know that it's coming. The other area of artificial intelligence that's really significant to note, and more about it coming up as well, is Viv, which is the software that has come after Siri. Siri, you know, is part of the Apple products. Viv is able to take a regular conversation and be able to produce results as if you're just talking to a person. No typing on your computer. Moving on to the internet. The next slide. This one is the whole story pretty much in a nutshell. Everybody wears clothing. And at the point that clothing as an online purchase beats out computers and hardware, you have reached the masses. Technology has gone mainstream. And just as a quick sidebar, my wedding registry was at Michael Fina. I walked through the store, and today there is no store to walk through. They've moved it to Amazon. So they see the trend of people going online to do their shopping. 2 big stats here to bear in mind. The first one is the 90% of America's adults, in Pew Research does not define adult, but it's got to be 18 or over, that's legal age. But 90% of America's adults have a cell phone, and 64% of them have a smartphone. The Democrats and the Republicans wish they could get that kind of consensus behind them on any given item. For small business, though, the issue is how to personally connect, because larger companies are spending $20,000 an hour to have consultants come in and explain to them how they can connect with millennials through all of this technology, because they can't figure them out as a generation. And by the way, it's not by putting my first name in an email and telling me that there's an offer that I can purchase. That's not personal connection. Small business does personal connection considerably better than big business. For instance, if you're a dry cleaner, you can send a text message to let someone know that your clothes are ready. If you're a garage, you can send someone a text message that says the brake job is going to be $322. If you're a picture framing company, you can let somebody know that their picture is ready to pick up. All of these are ways that you can personally connect with your customer and use new modern technology. Also online, the photograph on the left of the Fitbit Flex is from the Fitbit website. Fitbit wants to sell me that piece of hardware for $99.95. Amazon is going to sell me the same piece of software for $21.93 less than the manufacturer. There's no, take a look. This is why businesses are going out of business. Sports Authority has to go bankrupt. Amazon is driving them out of business. Amazon is the 900-pound gorilla, and they're doing it in an incredible number of different ways. These dash buttons, they've got 161 of them that you can scatter around your house. You need Tide, you push a button. You need baggies, you push a button. You need soap for your kitchen, you push a button. And all of these things are now connected into your network. And by the way, Shazam is a piece of software. If you hear a song that you don't know the name of, you can find out what the name of it is. If you are still a believer in the ownership of music, I have purchased a song on Amazon for 69 cents. The same song was available from Apple for $1.30. It's the same song, so spend your money where you like. And understand that with Amazon, they're slowly but surely taking away the you will save portion of their websites and basically leaving you with a take it or leave it. You want to buy it? Here's what it costs. And they did that to the tune of $107 billion of sales globally last year. This is not going away. This is a disconnect I had for online stuff. I personally have a very hard time with the notion that one company is going to deal in both security and narcotics. The gold rush online, every now and then it just hits a disconnect. I don't get it, but that's what it is. So just something to keep in mind. Let's talk about some of this Internet of almost everything, because large companies want you to buy more stuff and connect it to your networks, and just be mindful of the fact that the more things you attach to your network, the more places people can come through the door. And if you have your doubts about that, again, going backwards, I remember when Soupy Sales asked everybody to go into mom and dad's wallet and pull out the green stuff and mail it to him. If you don't think that a Wi-Fi connected Barbie isn't going to ask some kid to hold the little plastic card with the numbers up to Barbie so she can look at it and, oh, would you turn it around so I can see the back too? It's coming, folks. This is all stuff that's going on. And if you, as a small business, believe that this isn't going to happen to you, you've got data and people think that they can get to it, they are going to take it. Another sidebar. Nest Labs is a subsidiary of Alphabet, which again is the parent company of Google. They had a product called Revolve. I don't even know what it did, but it cost you $300 to connect it to your network. They decided they don't want that as a product anymore. You've spent $300, it's connected to your network, it doesn't do anything. If you don't disconnect it from your network, there are no patches or updates to it, and it becomes a doorway for people to come into your network. So as things get shut down, take them off your network, because otherwise, if they remain, somebody will find a way in through that door. And this is what people are talking about in terms of they're going to get onto your network if they want to. So assess this issue in terms of, do people have an axe to grind with you? Are you using a good firewall, and do you have passwords? And in the event that somebody does get onto your network, what is it going to cost to fix the problem of somebody getting on? And that cost, it's getting higher and higher, because not only is it the cost of fixing the problem, it's also the cost of the Equifax for all of the customers whose data got compromised, that you are now obligated to provide a year's worth of protection in the event that these people got hacked and their identities were stolen, and that is on your dime. And understand, if you have employees, every time they get onto your network, you are basically giving your employees the keys to your kingdom, and make sure you keep your employees happy, keep your customers happy, because the methods of people getting even and having an axe to grind, they're changing dramatically. And the media is not helping us with this. Hackers do not trick email systems. Hackers trick people who are using email systems. And they tricked them pretty good, close to $1 billion and 14,000 firms, because people are not being educated in the what's going on. So if you think that you got an email from the boss to send $5,000 wherever, was that an email address with a .com, a .net, or a .org? So it's time to start providing more education to your employees, because this stuff is going everywhere. And while Ross Ulbricht is going to jail for the rest of his life, he made $80 million in commissions doing basically illegal work. And then on top of that, people at the Department of Justice thought that they could steal from this guy and nobody would find it out either. So it's everywhere, and it's rampant. However, talking out of the other side of my mouth, the government did a survey where 41,000 people were asked if they're doing online commerce, and half of them said that because of what's going on, they are not. And because of companies like Apple and Microsoft looking at all of their personal information to try and figure out the next product or offering or thing that's available, people are backing off of it. Large numbers, no. But people are backing away from doing online commerce because you don't know all the time. Moving into the arena of software, I found the next set of stats really interesting. And while you're looking at the top of it, what's important to understand is that the evolution of apps, the things we use on our phones to do stuff, is we're going to be talking to our phones. For example, you will say to your phone as you're walking up to a vending machine, I want a club soda and a granola bar. And your phone is going to talk to the bank, who's going to say, okay, you've got enough money to do that. The bank is going to talk to the vending machine, and it will know that the vending machine is right by you because of all of the location services that are available. And by the time you get to the vending machine, your soda and granola bar will be available to you. Facebook is pushing Messenger because they're trying to get into this game as well. And there will be more coming up on Facebook, of course. And if you as a business want to start getting into the software business and you're looking for money, I recommend that you do it in crowdfunding. And we had a fabulous presentation by Cliff Enico, which will be available on our website as well, as to how crowdfunding works. Because venture capital, people are not throwing money in because the statistics for the next killer app are not particularly high. Can't overlook China anymore because the numbers and what's going on in China is quite amazing. They do twice as many sales online as we do in the United States. 1/4 of the people online globally are in China. And all of that is in a very highly regulated and censored internet. And I will make the statement as it's written up there. I am a huge fan of the First Amendment. I believe firmly in freedom of speech. But it is also important to understand that if you had a censored internet, first of all, there would be no Gawker. And second of all, there wouldn't have been a $140 million judgment in Hulk Hogan's favor. It just wouldn't have happened. So there are pluses and minuses to both sides. Disruptors. And while I'm not a big fan of the word, these areas and these companies are doing an extraordinary job of changing how business works for us. In the big data arena, where this used to be something that was exclusively available to large companies, Watson is an IBM product that at no cost to you, you can upload data in a spreadsheet and it will provide analytics on your business. I cannot tell you at what point IBM is going to say, for further information, you need to contact an IBM salesperson, but there are statistical analyses that Watson will provide for you. Cask.com is another free big data service. When you start to get into automobiles, Uber has turned the taxi business and the limousine business on its head. Get around where normally you would drive your car to the railroad station and it's going to sit there all day long until you get back. You can, through Get Around, rent your car out to somebody else so that rather than it just sitting at the railroad station, somebody is driving it around, using it for their errands, and paying you for the ability to use your car, and they don't have to buy one. Zipcar, Hertz and Avis, that you have to go to them. Zipcar, it comes to you. In housing, Airbnb is driving the hotel industry nuts. Vacation rental by owner has made the realtor go away. Cord cutting, we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up, but these are the companies that are starting to get television and social media as well, television news, really, really crazed, and the numbers are coming up shortly. More importantly than just the disruption are these big five American companies where the loss of personality and nationality, there is nothing intrinsically French or Italian or Spanish about purchasing from Amazon or buying a Microsoft laptop. You can tell it what language you want it to be, but these five companies are consolidating an enormous amount of business now, and it makes countries and companies all over the world extremely nervous. Let's talk about Facebook for a few minutes because there are incredible advantages for small business, specifically in the area of targeted advertising. And at the same time, Facebook is something that is running rampant in our society. And quite frankly, the facts under the Snapple bottle caps, some of them are true, some of them are a little off. Facebook facts, they're pretty much in the same deal. The best example, which I ran by somebody who does SEO professionally, I get a Facebook posting from a friend of mine who says his daughter, who's been married a year, is now pregnant. It's wonderful news, and pregnant becomes a very big buzzword for Facebook, which gets thrown into the algorithm of, well, Bud's interested in pregnant. Well, everybody is interested in celebrities. Therefore, Bud must be interested in pregnant celebrities, and the next thing you know, Bud is getting all these postings about Rob Kardashian and China Black, and I don't care. So this is how Facebook does this processing of information, and what's of greater interest to me on that page is the red circle down here where I asked Google to give me some information on this Facebook news issue, and they provided close to 2.5 million hits in just over a half a second. That is incredible computer processing power. Now, to talk about targeted advertising as a small business, This is one of the best places. Facebook is one of the best places that you can target your advertising dollar, because if you are looking for 28 to 32-year-old females living in Lower Fairfield County, you can have them. If you are looking for homeowners between 40 and 60 living in New Haven, you can have them. You can slice and dice the demographics that we have provided to Facebook to your advantage. Now, to your disadvantage as a business owner is the fact that while this social media is proliferating, companies are asking for their employees to adhere to guidelines, and over 3/4 of the people who are being told these guidelines are basically saying, okay, fine, I'm going to do as I please. And that's a problem, because the do as I please translates into approximately $3.5 trillion of lost productivity, which Facebook is getting 50 minutes of your day now. They want more of that time, and you are probably not going to see a change in how to monitor Facebook until Mark Zuckerberg's daughter is old enough to be on herself and Facebook starts affecting her grades. Then you're going to see a lockdown. So in the area of hardware, to sell 13 million iPhones in 3 days globally, you would be lucky if your salesperson said hello and thank you, let alone any information about how these machines work. We got computers everywhere. They're all over the place. We've transitioned now to a period of time where the education on how to use them more intelligently is really, really important. And software, as you see, a $1 trillion business and only growing. This was another disconnect that I got between the last couple of days. Apple is taking away your headphone jack, which of course will mean that you'll need to buy a new set of headphones, which of course Apple owns Beats and they will gladly sell to you. But not only is Apple taking away your headphone jack, they are also now able to take away your body parts. Just because you can do this stuff does not necessarily mean that you should. Now, Chromebooks are following Apple, and this is something that if you look back in history, Microsoft long ago, 20 years or so, give or take, decided that they were not going to pursue schools and education as an area for their business. Apple decided to do that. Today, all of those people who got out of school, who learned Apple computers in school, are very familiar with Apple computers, and you see the behemoth that they've turned into. In today's education system, it's now Chromebooks. Google, Alphabet is doing to Apple what Apple did to Microsoft. And follow this if you can. It's very important to understand that on your mobile device, whether it's an Apple device or an Android device, you can get Microsoft Office for free. The new Chromebooks, not the old Chromebooks, the new Chromebooks that will be coming out for this holiday season are going to be able to run Android apps, which means that you will be able to get on a laptop Microsoft Office for free. Now, that's really good news. And on the other side, as I said, a lot of this is talking out of two different sides of my mouth. But on the virus and antivirus side, lots of stuff is coming down onto these Android machines. They're all over the place, and it is not as tightly monitored a playground as the Apple network and the Apple system is. So while there are fewer risks outside of the Windows operating system, in Android you're still going to potentially have some problems. If you are not familiar with the EMV chip cards and you are running a small business, the most important thing to understand is that if your business does not accept a chip card as of October of last year, you are in risk of the liability of the sale. In other words, if it's on a bogus card, you're going to get caught with the sale cost on you. Getting a reverb, I'm sorry, folks. Not sure quite why, but let's move on. Okay, into information and the cord cutting and throttling. And the first thing I want to talk about there is this upholding of the net neutrality law. Jet.com was going to be the competitor to Amazon.com. They were going to make you buy a subscription like Costco and then offer the lowest price. They are rewriting their business plan. They did not get the subscribers that they thought they were going to. Net neutrality, bottom line, does not allow a company like Jet.com to spend any of their marketing budget on getting them through the door faster than your website. So Jet.com has as much opportunity to get to a consumer as you do. However, Jet.com has $500 million of marketing money, and if you have that much, you have as much of a chance as Jet.com. The other thing that's important to note about getting to consumers is your positioning in a Google search. And if your website has not been made mobile friendly, Google will knock you down on whatever standing you had previously. So if you've got a website, you want it to be mobile friendly. As you start to look at news, newspapers are suffering terribly, and television is starting to feel a very large degree of hurt because people are moving online to get their information. And this is just a natural course of events, but it's nothing that's particularly comfortable for the companies that are being forced to experience it. Now, I got these 3 slides off the internet from a company called eMarketer. And if you look in the top left up here, my math says that 80% plus 73% equals 153% of Facebook users. Now, one of 2 things are going on here. Either these people have no idea of what they're talking about, or they're using Yogi Berra to do all of their analytics. And I don't know, but this is the kind of information that gets posted, and because people are in such a hurry to get the information out, they're not reading it carefully. This other stat over here is another item that's very important to note. While there may be 83 million fake profiles, it's important to understand that people have multiple profiles. For instance, I have a business profile, I have a personal profile, and I cannot imagine that I am the only person who's got this. So bearing in mind that you've got 1.6 billion people with multiple profiles, all of these numbers keep getting skewed. So proceed cautiously with all of this information that's available to us. I regularly see articles by this fellow Vivek Wadhwa, and I have never seen any person working at 3 universities simultaneously as well as writing for the Washington Post. But his points are enormously valid, and it is something that just be mindful of for your business. Anyone who's ever done a presentation knows that there are 3 tell-ems. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. And this is the recap. So, very important to keep learning, but as you've seen, it's equally as important to get your information from multiple sources because there is no single valid source that you can rely on all of the time. Change is enormously important because we are just changing at a rapid rate. But bear in mind that you want to do this prudently and not so quickly. And it's important to evaluate what those changes are that you want to do. None of this stuff happens instantaneously or easily. The notion that this stuff is intuitive, I'm sorry, it's a fallacy. This stuff is not intuitive, and it doesn't matter whether you're on Windows, Apple, Linux, makes no difference. There is a learning curve to all of it. And if you are looking for counsel to get help or guidance and all of this stuff, SCORE is available to you. Steve had mentioned earlier the magic URL, and if there are any questions out there, I am happy to answer them. I see there are still people who are listening. Thank you very much. Anything that you would like to hear about or that I might have overlooked for you? Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. And by the way, again, as a promotion, and I do know this went very, very quickly because, as we've said, it is going to be posted online. It will be available for you to review again at your leisure at a much slower speed. And otherwise, Steve?
Yes, Budley, thank you very much. I had it on mute. I apologize for the hiccup there. But thanks very much, Budley, for that presentation. And as usual, excellent job. For those of you that are still on the line, this is just a reminder that we've got webinars the second Tuesday of each month. The next one is August 10th, and as I mentioned before, the topic is running your business using financial statements with John Harmon, who is our SCORE Fairfield County chairman. So we're going to wrap it up now. We're a little bit early, but like Budley said, the presentation and the words and music will be available within the next week on scorefairfieldcounty.org. So on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank
I do have a question here before you jump, Steve. Any age stats available on Internet users? Well, the Internet, Kathy, is being used over people of all ages. Kids are going online to play games. Teens are involved in the social media aspects and doing research for schoolwork. Adults are using it for their own homework and research. My wife planned a vacation by doing all of her research online, never called up anybody to ask a question. She was on the computer, found it all there. Seniors are able to do research. My in-laws used it to find out a few medical questions and to be able to go in and speak to a doctor with more knowledgeable information. There's no average age to the Internet that I know of. When you say social media, you're looking between that 28 to about a 34-year-old age bracket as the greatest use. But Internet in and of itself, a very broad spectrum. And as I say that, I'm going to throw in one other caveat, which is that our household will never cut the cord because my wife wants to be able to sit down on the sofa, press the remote control, and watch television. And there are many people in that 40-plus age bracket who feel the same way. So the Internet, the information is there as well, but because we've got a history with television and that's what we know, that's where we go and use it in that fashion. Hope that answers your question.
Okay, Budley, any other questions down in the chat window? I do not have visibility.
Nothing showing up.
because of recent IT trends, I do not have visibility to the chat window today. But anyway,
quick footnote on that, ladies and gentlemen. Quick footnote on that. The ReadyTalk app, which is available for your iPad or Android device, if you are a viewer, is absolutely fabulous. There's no additional software to download. It's basically a plug and play. Sit back and watch the dog and pony show. If you are driving the bus, so to speak, the iPad and Android app does not provide you with anything more than the viewing capability. And Donna, in answer to your question, yes, I am at Greenwich Library tomorrow night talking about optimizing your mobile devices. And the good news is there will be a lot of new information. The bad news is that there will be some stuff that you may have heard here that you're going to hear again tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Back to you, Steve.
Anything else? Anything else, probably down there in that famous chat window? If
nope.
not,
lots of thanks.
Okay.
Lots of interesting. Thank you. Well done. Informational. Great job. Keep those cards and letters coming in, folks.
And you should go see Budley tomorrow night at the Greenwich Library. So Budley,
that's right. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. We're going to sign off now, but just a final reminder, and I apologize for being so redundant on this, but go to scorefairfieldcounty.org. You'll find out how to sign up for one-to-one counseling, what our workshop schedule is for the next 30 days, and you do know already about our next webinar. So to everybody, have a very nice day, and thank you for joining us. Goodbye.